So we move to the main agenda item today, which is the consideration of the Auckland Regional Amenities Funding Act levy for 24-25. And I welcome to the table Alistair and Chris, and note also in attendance the chair and the deputy and members, Victoria Alistair from the funding board, ARAFA funding board. Thank you for joining us today. So just before I hand over to our staff, if you just remember, councillors, that last month, because this is a binary decision, we asked for a little bit more time to discuss the Auckland Theatre Company funding. So that's the purpose of today's meeting, to meet the legislative. Right. Thank you for the arts and culture background. And so I hand over to Chris and Alistair. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chair. So this item, you're being asked to approve the levy recommended by the ARAFA Funding Board. The levy funds 8 cultural and safety amenities, which are listed in legislation. Last month, you considered the levy and you asked the funding board to reduce the levy provided to the Auckland Theatre Company to allow the council and ATC the opportunity to find a complete solution for their funding issues. In response, the funding board have helpfully reduced the grant allocation for ATC to allow the council, ATC and the funding board to work through a solution. A solution will need to be found by 31 October. And you've already asked us to go and work, and we're recommending that you reiterate that request or that direction on to staff to go and try and find a solution and come back to you as soon as possible. Overall, we recommend that you approve the levy and thank the funding board for their cooperation in dealing with the levy. There is a statutory deadline for this approval, hence the need for this extraordinary meeting. Thank you all for your availability.
Thank you, Chris. Alistair, do you want to add anything?
No, I think that covers it. I would just like to apologise to members that everybody for the lateness of the report. This was a bit of a piece run of apologies for that.
Right, before I come to questions, I'm happy to move. Councillor Walker, did you want a second?
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
I'm happy to second.
Well, Councillor Hills has offered to second. Thank you. So we open to questions. Who would like to ask the question? Councillor Walker.
So you were saying that the proposal is to not grant the full sum that the board's asking for.
I think so.
And that there'll be some reconsideration.
Okay, welcome back, councillors. Apologies for the inconvenience to have to move back up here. Chris, just for ease of where we're at, do you want to just give a quick update just to remind everybody where we're at? I just think before we go into the
Sure, thanks, Chair. I'll just reintroduce those who weren't able to hear. So this item, you're being asked to approve the levy recommended by the ARAFA Funding Board. A levy funds 8 cultural safety amenities, which are listed in the legislation and in the report. Last month, you considered this levy and you asked the funding board to reduce the levy grant allocation that was provided to the Auckland Theatre Company to allow the council, ATC to work together to find a complete solution for their funding issues. Just on that, they have 2 main issues that they're dealing with. One is an outstanding $5 million ground lease, and the other is a shortfall for operating the theatre. So you asked the funding board to reduce the allocation so that the council and ATC can work together to try and find a complete solution to address that overall issue. The funding board have helped me reduce that grant allocation to allow the council, ATC and the funding board to do that work. We have a deadline, which is the October 31st, and we will work towards that deadline. The funding board have said that if we can't find a solution by 31st, they will potentially use their reserves to assist the ATC. So we're recommending that you ask staff to come back by 31 October with a solution. So overall, we recommend that you approve this levy and thank the funding board for their cooperation in dealing with this matter. And yeah, as I mentioned previously, there is a 31 April deadline for approving this levy, so that's why we have this extraordinary meeting.
Right, thank you. Now, I think Councillor Walker, did you still need to ask your question?
It's been partly answered. I guess the follow-on question is just around the reserves of the funding board. They're obviously more than adequate to meet that particular difference.
Based on raw numbers, yes, but I would also add that the request to allow more time is to explore options for external parties to help in this as well, which would reduce the amount as well.
Okay. Right, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Turner.
Thank you. Just you mentioned about the 5 million for a land thing, and I remembered a bit about it, and it was spoken to me when we were walking across here. Just go through that again. We're going to give someone funding to pay ourselves back for a rent. Is that right?
That could potentially be the short answer. The history of this is when Auckland Council made a capital grant towards the construction of the waterfront theatre down there. Now, at the time, that went towards the construction. In terms of the land, Eke Panuku granted, I forget, it's either a 90 or 120 year prepaid ground rental. Now, they offered the theatre company, it's Waterfront Theatre Limited, which is a separate legal entity that owns the theatre, a deferred settlement on that. So essentially, they had 5 years from completion of construction to pay the amount of the prepaid ground rental. When that became due, there's a number of factors, including COVID, which had shut the theatre for a year. There was simply not the money there to pay the ground lease. Now, through ATC's lease arrangement with Waterfront Theatre Limited, ATC is responsible for the outgoings of the theatre, of which this would be one. So we need to work out what is a holistic solution to deal with payment of the ground lease, as well as Auckland Theatre Company's operating deficit that they currently have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be led by the meeting basically, but I just take the opportunity again to say I'm starting to understand this stuff. It's so complicated unnecessarily. But my comments here are not for this meeting, so I understand.
Yes, that's right. So what we've got to do is do the funding by the end of this month, and then tackle the bigger problem between now and the end of this month, this meeting, and October. Thank you. I think there's a question from Councillor Filipaina.
Morena Chair, morena koutou. Just Chair, it'd be apartheid to you in regards to B, recommendation B. Why haven't we included the amount that it has been reduced to from ATC for transparency's sake? I think it just gives people an indication as to their cooperation, and then obviously working towards a solution by 31st of October. Is there any reason why it's not the amount that they're now seeking?
No, that's a really good point. Thank you, Councillor. I'm happy to amend that. That's a very good question, Alistair. It's the extra 150, right? Sorry.
347,000 reduction. It's paragraph 5 in the report. We'd pick up that.
Okay, we'll cut and paste that. Just give us a minute. We're a bit short on technical support.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, while this is getting done, I know that number 5, Chris mentioned it, that they reduced it by 347,000. So, that's just really good that they have, and then wait for it. Killed it.
Kia ora, thanks, Matua. Al, can you see the recommendations now? And Alistair, does that read well for you?
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Chair. It just, yeah, look, it just indicates the cooperation from ATC. Gilda.
Hold on. We still haven't got it right. Hold on. Right. Thank you. Yes, that is correct, I believe. Any other questions? Any comments? Well, in conclusion, I'd just like to make a comment because there has been a huge amount of work done behind the scenes. I want to acknowledge all members of the funding board and staff for probably 48 hours of intense communication and negotiations to get to this point. To each and every one of you, I say a big thank you because I think we're all in agreement that we've landed in a good place for all amenities, specifically though the Auckland Theatre Company. So I want to thank you very much. It was a lot of work over the weekend and I appreciate that. Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. I'll then now take it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That concludes our meeting. Thank you. And again, apologies for the disruption. And we'll move, I have a 5-minute break now and move to Councillor Williamson's workshop. Thank you.